Breakfast Show. Send in your messages on 0549 986 996. But Kofi has a few things to share with us.
Yeah, well, you stand to gain more when you bank at GCB. GCB, your biggest bank, is giving salary account customers more in the GCB Gain More promo. So you can switch or open a GCB salary account today. When we say more, we mean you get up to 300,000 Ghana cedis as a loan. And it's at competitive interest rates, and you repay it in 60 months at reduced upfront fees. So you pay no monthly fees for 6 months. Remember, the promo lasts until April 2023. Terms and conditions apply. GCB, your bank for life. In this day and age where rent charges are astronomical, cost of land for building is skyrocketing, and landlords are giving tenants a hard time, owning a decent, affordable home is not a luxury, but a necessity. Ugo Flip is here to make the home ownership journey realistic, fun, and more affordable than you can imagine. It's a real estate gaming company that rewards houses as prizes in 3 easy steps. 1, log on to www.ugoflip.com. 2, register with the phone number or email address. And 3, buy as many tickets as possible. You stand a chance of winning a house at Pram Pram, or weekly game prizes, or one of the many consolation prizes. And what makes the Ugo Flips Win Big Game unique is that even if you don't win the ultimate prize, which is always a house, Ugo Flip will reward you with loyalty points equivalent to $3 per ticket. These points, when accumulated, will be used as a down payment toward buying your next home with us or with other affiliated property developers.
So earlier we spoke to the government statistician, Professor Samuel Enim, and I was asking him something about inflation and, for how many months straight were we experiencing a rise. I attributed that to Mona Korte. Now, Mona Korte was on Eyewitness News yesterday. Now, she says inflation rates recorded over the past months put Ghana in the category of highly indebted poor countries. Now, yesterday, remember, the Statistical Service announced the new inflation rate, 40.4% for the month of October. The service added that food and non-food inflation also rose to 43.7% and 37.8%. And Mona Korte said the government had to take responsibility and roll out measures to cushion Ghanaians.
We all listened to the Ghana Statistical Service and the data that they put out for October, 40.4%. That is an increasing annual inflation rate for the 17th month straight. It hasn't even curbed a little and then gone back up, but it's just been going up for 17 months straight, up until October, that they tell us that it's now 40.4%, having moved 3.2% from last month. It's actually the highest reading since July of 2001, which is slightly before HIPIC days, if you recall. So there's no doubt that we are basically back in HIPIC times. We are back in the times where we were classified as a highly indebted poor country. And in fact, we've been classified as a country that has high distress debt. So there's no doubt that we are in very dire circumstances. In fact, the president himself has admitted to the fact that we are in an economic crisis. This crisis, of course, has implications for social, as it were, stability and so forth. And we are all feeling it in our pockets. I was listening to the differentiation between food and non-food inflation. I see non-food at 36.8 and food at 37. And food now at 43.7%. I mean, that is seriously high. And of course, because of the depreciation of the cedi, we see imported food at 43.7 and locally produced food at 39.1%. These are all high numbers, no matter how you slice it. And the big question is, what is driving all this and what is bringing about this situation? There's no doubt that the cedi depreciation is based on uncertainty. And one of the uncertainty is the future of us maintaining our finance minister, Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta. the world, the markets are looking and wondering why we will continue to keep a finance team that has implement economic policies that have failed domestically, have failed. So that uncertainty is feeding into the depreciation rate and, of course, then into the imported food items. Our locally produced foods also have a lot of imported raw materials to create some of them. I mean, really, when we look at even our staple, today our staple is rice, it's imported. Onions, tomatoes, they are imported. Unless we look at cassava, then we can find some local figure for it. But we all know that even from the COVID time, the price of gari and cassava went up a bit. You mentioned what President Mahama talked about in his tweet. And I believe what he was referring to was food prices in Ghana having gone up by 122%. I also saw that in a BBC report that was based on an Africa Pulse report. It ranked Ghana as the first in terms of highest food price in sub-Saharan Africa in 2022. So that has some data backing it. Right after that is Senegal at 110, Uganda, Nigeria, and so forth. But we were the highest at 122 since January 1st, 2022 to end of September. So he didn't pick that number out of the air. And to be honest with you, Umaru, for those of us who actually buy food, and I won't say women, because these days everyone buys food, whether it is ingredients or already prepared food, the inflation rate on that is well above the food inflation we are hearing for October, 43.7. And perhaps we must interrogate the basket. So we see that as at the end of September, water had gone up by 58.9%. That is a massive increase. Water is a major ingredient in what we eat and even how we prepare it. We saw milk, dairy products, and eggs at 49% increase. That is also major because a lot of Ghanaians eat eggs. I mean, even per the joke of President Mahama, Gobe goes with eggs. Everything we eat, our water, goes with eggs. I won't even look at the sugar things because that's not important. But for example, rice, the cost of rice has gone up. Oil and fats, 39.3%. And we all know that in actual fact, oil price has gone up way more than that. Far more than that for those of us who buy oil. Fish has gone up by 44.5 according to the government statistician. But we go to the market and it is even higher. The worst is meat, protein that we all need. That, according to the statistician, has gone up by 38.8%. I just bought meat 2 weeks ago, beef, from the market, and I was shocked at the price. Half a kilo for almost 100 Ghana cedis. That was not the price we used to buy just half a kilo of meat. In fact, I didn't even used to buy meat in half kilos. I would always buy a kilo or two because I have a fairly big family. But I was forced to buy half a kilo. So the government statisticians' numbers, I think, are pointing in the right direction, which is upwards, north. But the values themselves perhaps may be slightly understated because of where they may be picking the numbers. So I won't fault them. But the truth of the matter is that food prices have gone up substantially, over 100% since January 1. And you know, Umaru, I think there's no doubt about that. Any Ghanaian can attest to this. So that's what it is.
Now, the Minister for Agri has come up with an idea to haul foodstuffs from the hinterlands where we produce them and deploy these foodstuffs at the frontage of the Ministry of Agriculture so that we can buy at cheaper rates. What do you make of that, that plan?
Oh, Maru, I even feel bad that a well-educated Ghanaian and his team at the Greek ministry would come out with a statement like that. Is he saying that all of Accra, Tema, and even Greater Accra will come to the ministry to shop vis-a-vis the markets. One would have thought he would say they would bring it to the markets so that we could go there to buy, but to the ministry. Anyway, let me not get into that because it's not about, that sort of thing. But
I'm just saying that could deal with the issue of the cost of food.
Do you know what kind of queue will line up at the ministry? I mean, think of the logistics, Umaru. Now, that is a failed policy even before it has been born.
But that tells me of queues in 83 at Agomenya Market where you may have to go home and return the following day and continue queuing. Maybe, but if you get the food cheap, there's nothing wrong with queuing, is there?
There is something wrong with queuing for food. It gives an indication of a country whose economic policies have failed and is in dire crisis. So as for queuing to buy food by the number of human beings who live in Accra and the Greater Accra area, Umaru, please, let's not even talk about that. Let's rather talk about what can be done. We know that the central bank, through some of its inflation target policies, the monetary policies, have been trying to curb this inflation rate, but they've also not been able to do it. Unfortunately, they have failed. What is happening at this point in time? Even though we have depreciation, we still have a lot of money in the system chasing food and chasing other items. And we wonder where that money is coming from. Because really, if Ghanaians cannot afford the prices of food, then you would expect that they will be cutting down, as I've just mentioned, that I'm cutting down. But yet we see inflation rising, which means that there is a certain money supply coming into the system, chasing this food. And this goes back to the fact that, honestly, part of Ghana is able to afford this inflation, and a larger part is unable to afford this inflation. How are we allocating resources? And that worries me when you start to talk about the flagship project. How are we allocating our resources? Are we doing proper value for money? Are we doing proper cost-benefit analysis, as Prof. Bobkin just mentioned on your program? We are putting in place interventions that are having negative fiscal effect and creating more and more problems for us. So to be honest, Umaru, let me land on this point. I think that policy failure due to ineffective leadership response and perhaps even you talked about perhaps all of us not having the expertise, but this particular leadership seems to truly lack the expertise to lead this country anywhere else. And so that's where I will land.
So that was Mona Korte. Mona Korte is a former deputy finance minister in John Mahama's time as president.
It's not easy.
Wow.
It's not easy, Nathan.
It really isn't. At all. And, you wonder what the government's response is.
What I find very troubling is the responses also don't seem coordinated. So, for example, we just spoke to a statistician who's telling you the main drivers of inflation, right? And the Minister of Agriculture was in Parliament yesterday and he was asked why food prices are rising. And he doesn't believe that transportation is a justifiable explanation for food price increases. Although we've shown from the inflation figures that fuel is going up, transport is going up, and food is going up. But he says he believes there's another reason for it. And he reiterates this point, and I'm sure you play the voice later on, that they are going to bring food to Accra to compete with the high prices of food. So if we can't even agree on what is leading to the high cost, because last week you played the voice of a lady that Eno Safo interviewed in the market, and she was explaining why food prices were high. But then the Agri Ministry doesn't seem to agree with that explanation. Okay, so I wonder if we can't even agree on what is causing the high levels of food inflation, how are we going to solve it?
It's just crazy. Anyway, make life simple on the go. Pay the easy way with the Zenith Bank card, online or in-store. Pay for your Facebook ads, Netflix, iTunes, Amazon subscription, all of that with the Zenith Bank card. think payments, think Zenith. Zenith Bank in your best interest. Now it's happening this Saturday, Apollonia City's Family Day. It's happening at the Adumoa place located at the heart of Apollonia City. There are buses moving from the Accra Mall at 8 a.m. Just join them. There will be lots of good food, very good music, bouncy castles for the kids and more. And come and network and speak to other people and take a tour of their futuristic city as we explore the most viable investment options in today's tricky market. So it's happening on the 12th of November. See you there. Coming up next is Your Money. Your Money is brought to you by CBG. CBG, we stand with you. And Koku has the segment for us this morning.
Well, we're always trying to look for ways to save on anything and everything, right? And to reduce our expenditure. Well, when was the last time you had the earthing in your house checked for electricity, right? If you're wiring, all those things can contribute to higher electricity consumption. So get an electrician, a qualified electrician, mind you, to come in, check the earth, make sure that your consumption is actually what you're paying for, right? And I think it's very important as well to do that. And you can save some money on your power consumption. Yeah. Okay. I've experienced that before. You know, especially if you notice a sudden sharp increase in your electricity expenditure, it might be worth getting someone to check it out. You never know. Yeah.
And the other point is if you have old equipment, so there was a house we were living in, we had an old AC and we used to buy a lot of credit. So when we changed the AC, consumption reduced because sometimes the older equipment require more power.
Yeah. They're not energy efficient.
Yes, so they are not, and some of the new equipment are more green.
Yes.
So if you're in a house, maybe you're in a rented house and you realize that your bill on electricity is going too much, let somebody come and check the way the ACs and some of these things are working, some ions and things. They may be consuming so much power you don't know.
You don't know.
Yeah.
You know?
So a gadget audit is needed every now and again just to check your bills. That's Your Money, brought to you by CBG. CBG, we stand with you.
This is the Citi Breakfast Show, the city's biggest conversation. Join the conversation on the Citi Breakfast Show on Facebook at facebook.com/Citi97.3, Twitter at twitter.com/Citi973, and Instagram at instagram.com/Citi973 with the hashtag CityCBS.
Unleashing the power of relevant radio. This is Citi 97.3.
The promise season, it's time to reason. Them go tell you this, tell you that, change the economy, and that's a fact. But you know the reason, it be promise season.
On 0549986996. We'll try and go through a lot of them before the show ends. But the Agric Minister, you know, since we're talking about inflation and food, non-food, that kind of thing, the prices of food, everybody's talking about that. We all are affected by the price increase when it comes to food. If it goes up, everybody feels it. Don't tell me you don't eat. We all eat. If not, you die. Now, according to the Agric Minister, Dr. Usefrey Akoto, he's reiterated government's intention to transport food from the rural production areas to Accra in a bid to deal with rising food inflation. Now, according to him, data gathered by the ministry shows massive disparities between prices at the production areas and urban centers due to the costs within the value chain. Anyway, let's listen to him before I say anything. Let's listen to the Agric Minister explaining this to all of us.
The Speaker, food accessibility in Ghana is also more than satisfactory in recent times. The price hikes of food commodities in the urban centers, particularly in Accra, is creating an enormous impression that food has become inaccessible. I've just returned from a tour of regions in southern parts of the country, and Mr. Speaker, I can assure you prices in the urban centers, particularly in Accra, are a far cry from what obtains in particular production centers in the regions. Many attribute the high increase to the cost of fuel and transportation. Whereas this may be true to some extent, our analysis at the ministry reveal that it is over-exaggerated. Accordingly, government and the ministry on its own is arranging to transport food from the production centers directly to Accra to provide food at reasonable prices to the public and the workers.
A moment of silence.
Something wicked.
So that that was the Agric Minister, Doctor.
Yeah, but you know, to be honest with you, for me, the guy says that.
I want to hear it again.
Yeah, you see, listen to him carefully. He's saying that the data that his people have does not explain the wide disparities between food in the rural communities and food prices in the urban centers.
Yes.
Would be interesting.
So he's working with the data he has. So if you want to challenge him, now, so there are two things. He's made a point about the disparity.
Yes.
Yes.
Then he's proposed a solution. So I think we should take it one by one. You can disagree with the solution, but he is saying that when the data he is given from the rural areas is compared to the data like the food price in the rural, food price in Accra, is not explained enough by transportation. So whether bringing food to Accra or not is the solution is a different question. But I think the first part of what he says, we must listen to him carefully.
Oh, but I have. You see, I'll play it again.
Okay,
hold on.
Yeah.
Before you play it again, let me just make my point before I even forget the point I'm making. I'm interested in hearing more details about this data because the quality of the data reflects the quality of the solution. The solution that you have heard, is it a quality solution?
No. I feel you are jumping the gun.
I'm not jumping the gun. Hold on.
Prophet, we can have an agreement that the child has a headache, and then we can either say we will give him Piriton or give him whatever. So, but
you can say you give the child paracetamol
or
but a different kind of paracetamol.
That's my point.
So at this moment, we are between we'll give the child milk and orange juice.
No. Let's listen to the solution. The problem.
Hold on.
Because I think that the way he is saying that the price disparity is not explained enough.
Do you know what my issue? I get you. My issue with the data, which is why I would have been interested in the Agric Ministry being a bit more forthcoming with this data like other ministries are. Because the Agric Minister has a track record of being very anecdotal. At this point, that is not what we need. Everybody has made this comment about the disparities. You've raised that issue. A lot of people, it's not something that requires a significant amount of work at the moment. But he says they've gone out to do some work. So it would be interesting to know in the work that they did, what they found. What are the levels? What are the percentages? You understand? That would actually inform the conversation. So he can tell us that, okay, we think that there is this percentage hike in what we think is the actual and what the situation is now. And what would actually be a preferable price in the middle. And then somebody can come back and say, well, based on XYZ, your expectation of us charging X amount cannot be, which is why we are at this amount. Maybe on the floor of Parliament, the questions didn't get that detailed.
And I don't know whether they were questions, but for me, the fact that he's repeated the point suggests that he actually believes it. Because I heard this thing on the show last week.
Yes, he's been mentioning this for a while.
And this is Parliament, the House of Record. So I just thought you should just play it again to hear what he said.
Okay.
And then,
Mr. Speaker, food accessibility in Ghana is also more than satisfactory in recent times. The price hikes of food commodities in the urban centers, particularly in Accra, is creating an enormous impression that food has become inaccessible. I've just returned from a tour of regions in southern parts of the country, and Mr. Speaker, I can assure you that prices in the urban centers, particularly in Accra, are a far cry from what obtains in particular production centers in the regions. Many attribute the high increase to the cost of fuel and transportation. Whereas this may be true to some extent, our analysis at the ministry reveal that it is over-exaggerated. Accordingly, government and the ministry on its own is arranging to transport food from the production centers directly to Accra to provide food at reasonable prices to the public and the workers.
All right, so that was the Agric minister.
Yeah.
So I'm interested in.
So listen to him. He says that accessibility has become an issue.
He said it's not
an issue, but price hikes in urban centers are an issue. He finished a tour of the regions in the south, and that the prices that pertain in those places are a far cry from what pertains in the urban centers, particularly Accra. And while fuel and transport could explain some of the, and when somebody uses the word explain, it's also a statistical term.
Yes.
Could explain some of the price differentials. He doesn't think the fuel and transport hikes are enough to explain the wide disparities. For me, it would have been nice for him to say, okay, within the period of September to October, fuel prices have increased by X percent. Transport fares have increased by Y percent. But food prices have increased by Z percent.
So
now, when you take X and Y, it only explains partially the Z increase.
Which is the point I'm making.
So that we still feel that gap between the X, Y, and the Z is too much. And I think that Z is profiteering or something. Do you understand me? So he's almost like implying that there are some bottlenecks in supply of food in Accra, not explained by transport and fuel. And the ministry will use its system to make the food available. Now the question to ask is, so what form will it take? Are they going to just have the ministry itself? Is the ministry going to now bring articulators to bring the food to markets? Are they going to have people to sell it? The solution has to be questioned, right? But I'm just saying that we need to listen more closely to why he feels that there's a gap between the fuel and transport and the final price.
But my only concern with this is, like you said, he identifies something we've all asked questions about. But we've also we've gone around and spoken to random market women who will explain their numbers to you immediately. In fact, Enosafo spoke to somebody in Makwala who explained how she calculates her margins. We've spoken to several other persons, and it is very scientific the way they explain it when they work their numbers. And you always say that the traders in this country are very rational people. You've always said it.
But we've also admitted that
there is some level of profiteering.
We've agreed on this program before that in Ghana, price levels are very high because there seems to be a pricing culture that is not explained by all the drivers. In fact, when I interviewed Apia Adomako of CATS, I remember asking him, of all the drivers of price increases in Ghana, he should rank them. He ranked the excessive profiteering of traders as number 2. This is like 2-3 months ago. So let's not discount. So that's what I'm saying, that the guy's solution may not necessarily be the best, but if he's saying that there is some major difference in the food availability in the rural area to the urban center, and don't forget, he's also said in the past that his job is to make the food available. There are other ministries in the chain. So, for example, transportation ministry, right? So he probably saying, I produce the food. Somebody's supposed to transport it. So between agric, transportation, and then trade, there has to be some conversation.
Okay.
So he's saying, don't blame me just for high food price. Blame other people. But the only problem is that he's now saying that it's not even transport and fuel alone. So it seems to be saying that it's the people's pricing.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. What I'm trying to say is he would have helped the conversation by putting out what they discovered.
And the other thing which could also be is that the structure of a market. So maybe I'm preempting his point. Maybe the market structure does not. So for example, Nathan, if you have 6 rural markets which produce 1 ton of cabbage, transport fares may not be that high, but you have only 2 cabbage markets in Accra. It could create an artificial shortage. But if you had 10 cabbage markets, it spreads the cabbage and makes it easier to access. So if I live at Dowenya, I don't have to come to Malata to get a cabbage. So maybe in Accra, the markets are controlled in a way that sort of elevates prices, or they create an artificial. So it may not even be just profiteering. It could just be that the outlets are not enough. So all the onion sellers go and sit at one place and decide that they are going to restrict the flow of onion or something. Okay, so for me, I think we should. His solution, he has to explain. I can't defend his solution. I don't understand his solution. How bringing food to Accra on their own. But if, for example, he said we are going to create more markets, or we are going to work with the district assemblies to say, let's make the distribution part of the equation easier. Okay, so for example, when I was in the UK, on Saturdays, the city center will create markets, and then farmers would come from the rural areas, some of them even on horseback, with food that they sell on the ground and things like a proper. And this is the city center. We will go and by 4 o'clock, they've cleaned the market, they've gone home. Because if you go to Wilkinson's or Waitrose and things, the food is expensive. But if you go to, and this is the same fruit, so if you want to do bulk cooking, you time this. Coventry City Center brings all these market women, they come and buy very cheap food, and then they go. Because the way the Asdas and Co. negotiate with this farmer, they will raise the price. So maybe this is what he's trying to say, that maybe we are going to create markets where we are saying, Mumbra, oh, come and say, come and buy. I don't know.
Yeah, but the question I'm also asking, even on the availability of the food, okay, because he says his job is to make the food available, which also affects the pricing a bit. What is common use for us? Tomatoes.
Yes.
Is it available in Ghana? We import. We're importing $400 million worth of it.
No, that's a different question.
It is not.
You know why?
He says he's making food
available.
Tomato is like a basic.
I'm dealing with basics.
The equation about food in most countries is a mix of what you produce and what you import.
Yes.
So the fact that you're importing may not necessarily mean that
but he's talking about accessibility from roads. So which one is he talking about?
So you're saying
from Tema to Accra?
So you're saying that once his argument is that we've produced enough food.
Yes, he's talking about what we have produced there, because in doing this, he's linking this to PFJ. You cannot be discussing PFJ and talking import. So if PFJ has improved the supply of food, we are talking tomatoes.
So there are two things we can do. There are two things we can do. I agree with your point that he's trying to defend PFJ, but what you could do is if you call Isoko and ask Isoko to give you the price of the specific staples in the main markets and to confirm if there's a geographical disparity. That could help to analyze what the minister is doing. But and the other point is, if you could speak to those who research these things and say, okay, look, the Minister of Agri seems to be saying that there is some bottleneck with Accra that is elevating food prices, and therefore he's going to ensure that we bring food to Accra. Does the research support this?
Yes, but the point I'm making, even before you talk to Professor Canton, is this. On the basics, that's why I'm not talking about pork. Okay, so let's start. We chew a lot of chicken.
Yes.
Is poultry available?
No.
We eat a lot of tomatoes. We are importing $400 million worth of it.
Yes.
This year, corn, was it available? We are told next year we might not even get enough maize because people didn't plant the maize.
Yes.
Onion, where does it come from? I don't know.
Niger area sometimes.
Do we grow enough ginger?
So your point is that once you're importing all these things,
then clearly
but PFJ was meant for the staples.
No, I'm not even talking about just PFJ. I'm talking about we've made the food available.
So food available.
He used the word access. See, a couple of things. The word, there's everything. So when somebody says something is accessible,
means that if I want it, I can get it.
Yes.
I can easily get it.
Yes.
So did we get it by growing it, or we got it by, because you see, it will affect the price that he's talking about. If the tomatoes is easily accessible, fine. But am I bringing it from Akumadan or I'm bringing it from Burkina Faso? It determines the price.
I'll come back. Hold that thought. Let's talk.
Let's speak to Professor Roger Canton. He's a former researcher, Savannah Agricultural Research.
He's still a researcher.
He's still a researcher. Okay.
Professor Canton, you stop researching.
Professor Canton.
Are you a current researcher or a former researcher? Because they say you're a former researcher.
Hello.
Yes, you're on.
Yes, Professor Canton, you're on the Citi Breakfast Show. Good morning.
Thank you. And how is my friend Bernard and my friends doing at Citi?
Well, we are fine, but Bernard is here.
We are just confused about the issue of the difference in prices of foodstuffs between the rural areas and the urban areas. And I know you research these things. So what are your opening thoughts on that issue?
Yes, I would like to thank you for the opportunity. I've just returned from my hometown, Tumu, which is a net food producing district in this country. And as I said, a bag of maize, the 100 kilograms, is going for 320 to 350 as of now. That is it has variance with what used to occur in previous years. Maize would have sold around 90 cedis to 120 cedis at this very time that I'm talking of, when the harvest is in session. So if the maize prices now are hovering above 300, then there is cause for concern. Two, I would also like to add that a significant number of farmers could not afford maize to produce maize and have to go into soya bean, which is a less input requiring crop because it doesn't, require fertilizers just like maize, rice, and the other cereals will do. So clearly there is an issue with food in terms of maize this year. You know, the quantity that we used to produce definitely will not be able to get that because fertilizer prices actually price out a lot of peasant farmers who could not afford. I'm giving an example. I myself went to do farming late, but I realized that because of the hike in the fertilizer prices, a lot of us could not expand our acreages. As I talk to you now, a bag of compound fertilizer in Tumu is going for 420 Ghana cedis. You can call the Department of Agriculture, Francis Ndama, and verify that. So clearly, how many farmers produce maize, which is a major staple? In fact, that is the most important, significant staple in this country.
So Prof, if I understand you, you are saying that if in the past maize was cheap in the rural areas and expensive in Accra, that could be true. But now, because of the high price of fertilizer, even the maize is not being produced, and therefore the price of maize, even in the rural area, is high. So there isn't much of a difference between the price in those rural areas and the urban areas. Is that your contention?
That is almost the concession. I do not know how much a 100 kilogram maize sells in Accra. I have no idea. But if we could get that, we could draw the comparisons. As I talk, in Tumu, it is 320, 330, virtually heading towards 350 Ghana cedis, which is clear that as we go on, the prices are likely to hit 400. I'm sure about that. No question about that.
Prof, you mentioned maize and the fact that maize farmers couldn't really produce. Which other crops have been affected such that farmers couldn't really produce a lot, looking at these same sets of circumstances?
Generally, it is maize and then rice that normally are heavy feeders. They require a lot of inputs, external inputs, fertilizer, herbicides, and things like that. So definitely, they are the two major crops that normally support the brand. But the good news, yesterday I read that Fimbisi farmers have sufficient maize, rice, and are looking for warehousing facilities to store their harvest. Okay. That was what I read from the internet.
Okay. Now, if you take away the high fertilizer price, are other factors also responsible for this? For example, maybe insufficient rain, or are other factors also responsible for the hike in prices of food?
The hike in the price of food are traceable to two things: fertilizer not being available at the right time, and two, fertilizer also being above the ordinary farmer, number two. So fertilizer is number one. Secondly, we have fuel. This year, an acre, you paid on average, it was 200 Ghana cedis, 220, 200, 220 in the Sisala areas, which is quite totally very different from what we did last year. Last year, it was hovering around 110, 120, 110, 120. So here you have almost about what? 80 Ghana cedis added to that. So basically, it is fertilizer and fuel that are the drivers of this agrarian crisis that we have found ourselves in.
Okay.
And unless something is done, how much a gallon of diesel? I just bought diesel when I was coming from Tumu. It is 105.7. I'm giving you Goya prices where I normally buy from. So if you have to buy 10 gallons of diesel, you are talking about almost 1,060 Ghana cedis.
Okay, so the fuel is to power the tractors and other heavy equipment. I'm assuming so.
Exactly. That is the issue. Even moving the produce, if you ask a care truck to convey maize from Tumu to this place, which previous years is about 50 Ghana cedis per bag, the 100 kilogram bag. Today, as we talk, I haven't found out, but it's certainly going to be more than that. Even look at human, passengers. I just read OA from 08 Accra to Command, while it used to be 270, it's now 270, and to Bolga it's about 280 or 285, which was, in fact, a couple of weeks back. It was just, in fact, it was not even up to 200. It was hovering around 195. So clearly, fuel is the driver, and fuel is so key.
Okay. Professor Cantor, the Agric Minister has been expressing a very interesting thought in the last few weeks. He says government wants to transport food from the rural production areas to Accra in a bid to deal with rising food inflation. Now, he says that when he looks at the prices in the production areas and he looks at the prices at the urban centers, the disparity is just too wide. So he feels that if government jumps into the space to try and bridge the gap, it will decrease the prices of food in Accra. Your take on this idea, and I mean your take. What do you make of this idea in the first place?
My question is, I want to find out from the Agric Minister, which ministry is going to oversee that? That's number one. Which ministry will pretend over that?
He says the Agric Ministry.
Then I ask you to ask him, is that the mandate of the Ministry of Food and Agriculture? Is there going to now be a constitutional shift in its mandate to now go into haulage and marketing, like food distribution? I thought, per the Constitution and per what I have worked with in 30 years of research, the mandate of the Ministry of Food and Agriculture is to formulate policies that will enhance agricultural productivity and production to feed and nourish our overwhelming population. Two, the Ministry of Food and Agriculture is a technical department. It's a technical ministry, technical wing, to provide technical advice to farmers across board. I think these are the two things that the Ministry of Food and Agriculture, to the best of my knowledge, has been said to do. And that's what is done worldwide or globally. Now, if the minister is telling you he wants to, my question is, has he got the mandate? Do they have the capacity? You see, moving food from rural areas to urban centers, if you ask me, ask the minister, is he conversant and acquainted with the agricultural value chain? He's an economist. The agricultural value chain has a lot of actors or players along the chain. So you cannot leave your chain and go to act on somebody's chain. You only strengthen the person. So the minister sits there at the pulse level. While there are so many line players there, farmers, warehouses, those who go to do the spraying, harvesters, and all those things. You know, it's a huge chain. So if we want to tackle this issue and we are using a fire brigade or a panic approach, I don't think we'll get anywhere. We need to be very serious and look at these things from their organic perspective and profit solutions accordingly to tackle these. Secondly, there is a whole institution, organization that is tasked to always take off excess food from farmers. That is the buffer stock. My question is, how well have they functioned? They keep saying that there is enough food. Then you should deploy the food from buffer stock. Why is he going to waste his country resources as a technical ministry to go into an area that they don't have the competence? Why not leave it to the buffer stock? Ask them what is happening at buffer stock. Something somewhere might have been an issue, because that is their job. The buffer stock, to my understanding, is they stock excess foods.
Okay.
So that farmers are able to get money, borrow for their money. And when there are times of like this, crisis, where we don't have food, they will bring the buffer stock to cushion what? The urban population. So why are they not doing that? And they are now talking to go and bring the food stuff. Something somewhere might not have been right.
Prof, so clearly you disagree with this idea.
Come again.
I'm just saying that clearly you disagree with this idea and you feel that this is not the way to go.
This is not. It's not a feasible. It's not a scientific approach.
I see, Prof.
How are you going to do that? No, let's be serious with these things. How are you going to do that? Do they have a haulage division in the Ministry of, they have agricultural mechanization. They are not a holy group. They are into tractor equipment, combines and other things, bringing them in, which even could have been done by private sector. But government finds itself in the subsidizing them. Fine, we can sometimes understand. But elsewhere, it's not the it's supposed to be a technical wing and also a force wing. So I find it to be quite a little bit bizarre.
Prof, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it. That was Professor Roger Canton. He's a researcher with the Savannah Agricultural Research Institute. So he says he disagrees with the Agri Minister. He says, look, this is not feasible. He says the ministry is not built and designed to be doing haulage and selling, that kind of thing.
And speaking of haulage, I watched the CNR 2 days ago and I saw cocoa truck haulers say they were going to go on strike because of some, I think there was some policy that they should register their
registrations.
Yeah, and they were also saying that the cost of their transportation has gone high because of diesel.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. This is, maybe the minister should hold a press conference and explain his solution. Maybe he should hold a press conference and explain his solution, because the fact that there is a view that the disparities in pricing between the farms, I mean, guys, those days when your father is going for trek and he has a pickup, why does he go?
He's coming with things.
Because you know that when he gets to, especially to BA, some of the food he will get, and when he comes to Accra, the difference is big. So we know this already. And we don't know, but my only challenge is the man is saying that he doesn't even think it's transport and fuel alone. Okay. I wish he would have said, I think the other reason is this or that, and therefore I'm doing it. But I say he's going to make food available in Accra. Where? Will it be labeled? Who will sell it? Will the seller be somebody committed to maintaining the price? Or is he going to recruit food retailers? Or is he going to create like agri-food sellers? Or is he going to do something like, we had a company called the Ghana Food Distribution Corporation. Is that the kind of thing they want to do? There are lots. For me, when the solution proposed has more questions than answers, it doesn't really help. Okay, it doesn't really help, and it doesn't. I don't want to say it trivializes the problem, but it's almost like, Charlie, people are not doing what we want, so we'll do it ourselves. I'm not sure he can.
I think you're right. He needs to meet the press.
Something and explain, because he needs to tell us how is he going to do. Is he going to create new markets and call it agri-ministry markets? Is he going to work with the local authorities? And we're going to actually do the retailing. Are we going to buy online? Because Christmas is coming, and if you have a food inflation of close to 50% in October, and usually the price hikes begin in the last quarter, so what is going on? And I don't know.
Still listening to the Citi Breakfast Show. Sending your messages 0549986996. Now, have you been hustling under the scorching sun? Are you tired and thirsty? You need Coca-Cola. And you can find them in different bottles, different containers, selling at interesting prices. So if you want one in a 300 ml returnable glass bottle, it's 2 cedi 50 pesos. If you want one in a 300 ml plastic bottle, it's 3 cedi 50 pesos. And you can also find the Coca-Cola Classic in the 300 ml plastic bottle at 3 cedi 50 pesos. Coca-Cola, real refreshment for all occasions. Coca-Cola Zero Sugar. You need to try it first. Now, how can you be sure you've chosen the best candidate for the job? How about their skill set? Can they handle the day-to-day demands of the job? Let's eliminate these questions for you. Introducing The Room, from our vast array of highly skilled and competent software engineers, customer service personnel, research and data entry specialists, and administrators. You can be sure that your company's mission is in safe hands. They are just a room away. Visit theroom.com now. Still listening to the Citi Breakfast Show. We'll take a very quick break. When we come back, we have more for you. Please don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
This is the Citi Breakfast Show, the city's biggest conversation.
In 1957, the Gold Coast gained political independence from Great Britain after approximately 83 long years of colonial rule. 65 years later, is the Black Star still a shining example of Black excellence, resilience, royalty, and sophistication for the African continent? Or is the Black Star simply a Black Star? What has really become of Ghana? What is the true state of the nation?
The Matrix Verse, Ghana at 65, the state of the nation. A poetry concert by Apioko, coming to you on the 18th of November, 2022 at the National Theatre. In partnership with the National Theatre of Ghana, the KGL Foundation. Tickets, VIP Black, 300 Ghana cedis single, Standard Red, 200 Ghana cedis single, Student Gold, 100 Ghana cedis. For ticket purchases, dial the short code *447*2173#. Partners, UNESCO, BU by Bellamundi, Ehala Casa, The Musical Lunatics, Colorcast Print Solutions, Avonzige Fashion House. Sponsors, Create Concept, Poetry Association of Ghana, Himaya Ushering, Ahaspora Young Professionals, Democrats Abroad, Ghana, the European Union. Media partners, City TV, 97.3 City FM, Ghana Weekend, Amayo Debra Media, Hyperlink. This is a Beyond the Return event. The Matrix Verse is an Apioko and Fablinks co-production supported by Tunic Africa.
Glovo is the app that delivers anything you want from your city. When you work late, treat yourself. Order a Glovo and enjoy jollof, fufu, chicken or pizza. Or on days when plans with friends run longer, get your snacks and drinks from Glovo and keep the party going. No diapers left? Order a Glovo and save the day. With Glovo, you can order easily and track your delivery until it arrives at your doorstep. Download the Glovo app now. Order food, groceries or anything you want. We deliver in minutes.
Join the conversation on the Citi Breakfast Show on Facebook at facebook.com/Citi97.3, Twitter at twitter.com/Citi973, and Instagram at instagram.com/Citi973 with the hashtag CityCBS.
Charlie, how you did? Charlie, what's up? Me, I did. How you doing? Managing. I'll be that job. You be cool. Side no damaging. And you'll get.
Welcome back. This is still the Citi Breakfast Show.
Mommy, cool crash. She did church on Sunday.
Concerning your messages on 0549-986-996. All right, let's talk about some other things. Now, earlier this week, I don't know how many people recall. I was on one of the days when we're doing the newspaper review, I mentioned something about the Fair Work Ghana report.
I don't pay the lights bill, but at least we manage. Job side hard small, but
on digital work, ride-hailing apps, that kind of thing. So I've been joined by Dr. Joseph Budu. He's a country manager, Fair Work Ghana project, and a senior lecturer at the Ghana Institute of Management and Public Administration.
You don't look for me. Oh, why?
And we also have a delivery worker in the studio.
I did morning devotion with my neighbors. Are you still with your boy?
We'll get their thoughts on the report. Doc, hi, good morning. Welcome to the Citi Breakfast Show.
Thank you.
How are you doing?
Fine, thank you.
Wonderful. And our delivery worker, how are you doing?
I'm good.
Wonderful. Let's get into the Fair Work project. Earlier this week, I saw the story online. You had put together a very lovely report. But can you just explain, which people are Fair Work, for those who don't know, what it does and who you are supporting, or who is supporting this project that you are currently undertaking in Ghana?
Thank you very much, and good morning to your listeners. So the Fair Work project is an international project that seeks to unearth the working conditions of workers in the digital platform economy worldwide. And we have a branch in Ghana that focuses on the digital platform work economy in Ghana. We are supported by the Invest for Jobs project under the GIZ.
Wonderful. Can you just provide a background of this year's evaluation? So you've put out another report. I think you put out one in 2021. You've put out another one this year. So what's the background for this year's evaluations?
Thank you. So this year's evaluation is to find out whether our report last year and our interactions with these platforms have brought about any improvement in the conditions of workers.
Okay.
So last year we scored 10 platforms. This year we sought to score more.
Okay.
However, some platforms have fallen off for one reason or the other, and we have included some 2 new platforms.
Okay.
So
how many in all did you do?
10.
10. Okay.
This year also we have 10 platforms. Yes. Okay. And there are interesting findings from this report. I believe we'll come there, but we have seen that it looks like platforms have either rested on their oars or they are not taking any new initiatives to improve on the conditions of workers. So this year's report seeks to highlight those things and some of the other issues concerning the working conditions of the workers.
I mean, we'll get to the findings, but just a few more words on how did you score them? How did you do your rankings? Whether you use the weighted system, just run us through that, and then we can talk about some of the key findings.
Okay, so we begin with a desk research to find out what platforms are available. Then we write to them. We send them emails to tell them that this year you are going to be scored. Whether they respond or not, they will be included in the scoring. Yes, because some do not respond at all, and so we tell them. When we send them multiple emails that we are going to score you, about 3 emails, then we interview the workers on these platforms, at least 10 workers.
At least
10.
Okay.
This year we did Accra, we did Kumasi and Takrady to have a variety. Then, based on the driver scoring or the worker scoring responses, we do the scoring. And the scoring is according to 5 principles.
Okay.
We have what we call fair pay. We want to find out whether the workers are receiving at least the minimum wage. If you are receiving a minimum wage, we give you 1/10. If the workers are receiving a living wage, we give them 2.
2/10.
So that will be 2/2 for that.
Okay, for 2/2. Okay.
Yes. Then we go to fair conditions. Do the workers have a place where a means of protecting themselves from the risks that they are involved on the job? So we score 2 points over there. If they are able to show that they truly have protect the workers from the risk on the job, we score them 2. Then we have fair contracts. Are the contracts the workers signing clear to them so that they don't have to read a very lengthy contract for them to just sign off because they just want to do the job? If it is fair, we score 2 points there. Then we have fair management. We find out whether the workers have due process in case there is any grievance that they have. Is there due process or the platform just takes them off arbitrarily without any form of redress? The last one is fair representation. Do the workers have the right on the platform to form unions, and do the platforms recognize this union? So based on these 5 principles, we scored them over 10.
I see.
And then we have a league table.
Great.
Very interesting. I mean, it's interesting to note that with the fair pay, for instance, none of the platforms could provide evidence that the platform workers earn the minimum or living wage in Ghana. None of them could prove that. That's serious.
That's serious.
And doesn't that violate government of Ghana law? I mean, that's basic minimum wage. So you get this kind of information, you're able to compile this. What can you do with it to effect change? Because if these workers or riders or drivers are not making even the minimum wage, surely there should be some kind of legal redress for them.
Yeah. So the basic thing we can do is advocacy. We have to keep speaking about it. Then secondly, we engage with the platforms. Last year, we engaged with the platforms. So there was one platform, for instance, whose contract was under Spanish law. So through the engagements, they have changed it and it's now under Ghanaian law. So it is through diplomacy and engagement on our side. But we are also engaging with policy stakeholders. This year, for instance, we are developing a policy brief which we will give to the Ministry of Employment to ginger them to seek or take the legal actions that will make the platform recognize these workers as employees, not independent contractors.
Right.
So
Okay.
See, so let's highlight some of the other key findings. I mean, Koki highlighted the fact that there was no minimum wage. What other major things did you discover as you put this report together?
Okay, so we also discovered that Still, the platforms don't want the workers to form unions.
Wow.
The workers have tried and formed associations. This year in June, some came together to form a union, Ghana Online Drivers Union. Still, the big platforms don't want to recognize these drivers. So only one platform, the Black Ride, has signed a memorandum of understanding with the workers that if they come to them with their collective issues, they are going to have ears for them and to redress.
What other major findings did you come across?
In addition to this, when it comes to fair conditions, you can see that there is an issue there when it comes to the platforms taking responsibility for handling or helping the workers to overcome their risks, because they see these workers as independent contractors. Meanwhile, they enforce the rules of the work. They tell the workers how many hours to work and how many hours not to work, and they get penalized when they don't meet certain targets. This is something like an employer-employee relationship. However, they don't want to take the risks. They don't want to help them cover the risks that they face on the road. If a driver picks a passenger on the platform and his phone gets stolen, it's not the platform's business. If the driver gets hit or even assaulted, or the rider runs away without paying, the platform doesn't care. But the platform will take its 20% or 25% commission from the trip.
Wow.
I'm not holding brief for any platform at all, but could it be because when a lot of these platforms were established and, the big main, should we say, the father of these ride-hailing apps, or Uber, right? It was more so that kind of independent contractor relationship, and the platform was more like a facilitator. So you've got a car, you're at home, you're not really using it for anything. Okay, there's somebody who needs a ride. We'll provide a platform to link you up, and based on that, you can give the person a ride and earn some money. So perhaps because the companies were established as more like facilitating apps than employing people to drive for them, could that be why you have these blurred lines now where the service has evolved to some degree, but the original intent of the platform and the current way in which the platform operates, maybe there's a bit of dissonance there. So they've got to come to a point where they compromise somewhat. Do you think that could be why we've got some of these discrepancies?
Yes, I believe it could be. But no business continues in its the original intention will be there, but you bring some innovation.
You evolve.
Yes. So there are platforms today that are collaborating with third-party vehicle hire purchase companies to purchase vehicles for drivers to drive and do the work and pay arrangement.
Yeah.
It is not part of the initial business model, but you are doing it now. Yes. So if your worker, the people who are creating the value for you to get your rent, if they are making certain demands, it is only fair that you listen to at least their side and meet them halfway.
Reach a compromise.
Great.
Yeah.
Let's talk to our delivery worker. We'll keep him nameless for now. Tell me, what does the report mean to you and all other service providers, drivers and delivery workers? What does this report mean to you, those of you who provide the service and you are actually doing the bolts and nuts of the work?
Okay, thank you very much, and good morning to your listeners as well. And for their, I should talk about the,
the report. What it means to
from
you
Fair Work.
From Fair Work.
I would say Fair Work has been an awesome company, and then we are so proud of them because let's say for about 2-3 years now we've been working on the platform with a lot of let me say should I say maybe our earnings. That's the main problem. And then sometimes we don't even have right to talk to our people as partners as well. Because of Fair Work today, we are having some of these problems solved. So kudos to Fair Work as well.
Great. And between last year and and this year. Let's talk about the changes. I don't know, maybe if you can tell us some of the on the platform that you work for. Have you noticed any changes in terms of since this report came out? Have you noticed any? Have they changed some of the things they do? You know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'll say I work on, let me say, about 2 tech platforms, and there has been reports. It has been a good report from I think one platform so far, and then the others are also, I think, Fairwork are working on how to reach out to the other ones that are not that are, they've made up their mind that they don't want to mine us, but they are working on that. So
I see. Doc, I mean, same question to you. Have any platforms made any changes between last year and this year? Looking at the fact that whether or not they responded, you still included them in there. Have you seen any changes between last year and this year?
Yes. So without mentioning names, one platform, for instance, previously, if a rider books a trip, you don't see the driver doesn't see the rider.
I see.
And even the rider's location. So you pick blindly when you get to the rider before you realize that this is where the rider is going. And sometimes their destination is a flashpoint. It's a place where they have suffered
previous incidents.
Exactly. So over there, the driver has to take a decision. Should I go or not? If the driver cancels the trip, the driver could be penalized. So based on the negotiations with this platform, one of them has included something they call verified and unverified riders. The verified riders have to register with their Ghana card so that the driver knows who he is picking or she is picking. And they also know where the destination is. So they decide whether to go for the trip or not. And they are not penalized for canceling a trip.
I see.
Exactly.
I see.
Interesting.
Quite interesting.
I know. I'll be a bit facetious here. The part about being able to choose where you want to go, that thing, it's a bit dicey because some of the drivers are just picky. Maybe it's late at night, you need a ride. Maybe you're in, let's say, Westlands, and you're going to Castle. And it's like the driver will see the location, say, "Charlie, this is why I know."
You took us to the first business model. You have your car. You have to choose where you want to go.
Yeah, but then the rider ends up being a bit because people are just now they want to choose. I'm not going to drive here. I'm not going to drive there. So then you end up not being able to get a ride. But with the previous model, you pick the customer without knowing where they're going. Then you decide. So you've got to go.
Yeah,
do you understand? And you get paid for that distance.
You do, but like he said, what if you now get to find out you are driving into a danger zone?
I get so. It's
I guess
the seesaw.
Like
it helps
will fine-tune
to fine-tune the app. Yeah.
Someone has to drive for 30 minutes to pick a rider who is going for a 10-minute trip.
Interesting. I mean, concluding words, Doc. This is a very interesting report you've put together. Concluding words as we wrap up our interview.
Okay, so we want to reach out to the three parties on these platforms. The first one is the platform. We are begging them in all humility and modesty that they should listen to our drivers, their workers, because if you call them partners, you should listen to them so that you can create value together. We are also pleading to our workers that they should also try to work as best as they could, and our consumers they should use platforms that are fair, the fairest platforms based on our scoring.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
So interesting, we'll be speaking to Dr. Joseph Budu, Country Manager, Fairway Ghana Project. He's a senior lecturer at the Ghana Institute of Management and Public Admin. And we also had our delivery worker here, giving a good account of the report and reflecting the changes that have taken place. Gentlemen, thank you so much for coming. Wish you the very best.
Thank you too.
Thank you.
Still listening to the Citi Breakfast Show. We have more for you, but the Heritage Christian College, located at Amasaman behind the Olympic Stadium, is affiliated to the KNUST and accredited by GTech. They've got all kinds of great programs. They've got BBA programs. They've got BSc Info Technology. They've got a Bachelor of Theology. So for those who love religion and want to understand the philosophy of religion, which is theology. Tutorials for professional programs, ICA, CIMG, CIHRM, ICM, media, and IT short courses. Now, they've got certain unique points, entrepreneurship training with financial support, one student, one laptop. Of course, T's and C's apply. They've got 24/7 internet access. They give you a professional certificate in addition to a degree. Character development, scholarships, caring faculty, affordable and flexible fee structure. Entry requirements: WASI, ABCE, GBCE, HND diploma top-up, and mature students 25 years or above. Hostel facilities are available as well. Contact them on 0547 777 731 or 0202 298399, or you can dial *789 *300# to purchase an online serial number and apply at hcuc.edu.gh. 50% tuition waiver is given to all January 2023 fresh students. Heritage Christian College, offering world-class university education and training compassionate entrepreneurial leaders. Now, if you're an enterprise customer, this recognition is for you. Recently, when the Ghana Club 100 was put together, 4 of Enterprise's subsidiaries, Enterprise Insurance, Enterprise Life, Enterprise Trustees, and Acacia, earned their respective positions as top companies. And in the recent CIMG Awards, Enterprise Insurance was retained in the CIMG Hall of Fame for the 6th straight time. Enterprise Life was adjudged the Life Insurance Company of the Year, and Enterprise Trustees, the Corporate Trustees Company of the Year. Now, all these awards are dedicated to their valued customers. Dream big with us. Enterprise is your advantage. So listen to the Citi Breakfast Show. Your messages have come in on 0549 986 996. We'll go through as many of them as possible before we go. Before we head out of the studio. But let's move on. Let's talk about other things. So we've done fair work, talking about drivers and all. Okay, let's talk about malls and places where we shop. Not so.
Hello. Yes. The ANC development, or the ANC Mall. Most of us know ANC Mall. I mean, I go there quite a bit. Quite familiar with it. I cannot believe it is 20 years old, though. Really?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Joining us to talk about that, we've got Dr. Andrew Asamoah. He's a lawyer and executive chairman. And we have Mr. Richie Johnny, who is marketing manager. Gentlemen, good morning. Welcome to the Citi Breakfast Show.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
Fine, thank you.
Wonderful. I mean, ANC is 20 years. Amazing. Wow, that's great. And it's amazing. A lot of people, 20 years will sneak up on you in a bit. For many people, they didn't know that. How has the journey been so far? 20 years. How has it been?
It's been very difficult, but interesting also.
Mm-hmm.
In the sense that, doing business in Ghana, if you are used to doing business abroad, there are certain things you take for granted. For example, you can go in and take a loan payable in 20 years, 30 years, a mortgage, interest rates are low, etc., etc. So doing business in Ghana has a lot of challenges. And that's why, for example, ANC, unlike the other malls, took time to fully develop. Whereas the other malls came from outside, they came with the funding, and if you look at Accra Mall or West Hill Mall, it just came and it was put there. So you can see the difficulties of a Ghanaian trying to put something like that there,
Wow.
But despite those challenges, you've done quite well. The renovations look really good. I can speak about the kids' playground. I've had many events there and have seen what you've done over the 20 years to enhance the place and improve it. And it's still going quite strong. So how are you going to celebrate this milestone of 20 years in business?
There are a lot of celebration line up. And I think when it comes to the celebration, do I ask the marketing manager?
Maybe Richard can give us some more
just
info.
to give us the lineup.
So like the executive chair said, there's a lot of events lining up for the celebration. First was our branding. We took time to come up with our branding, which took us about 6 months to work on that. So when you come to ANC Mall, currently you see a lot of branding featuring our future project, because ANC Mall is still growing, and then we're still doing much more things. So branding now is epic. We're on top of that. So you see our future project on the branding and all of that. Future projects like ANC Corner, then ANC Resident. Currently, ANC Mall is going to have ANC Resident part of the mall to complement the mixed use that we have. So the old Lancaster space that we have, we're turning it into a resident apartment, which will start next year.
Okay.
So when you now come to ANC Mall, it's going to be a destination. It's a lifestyle experience, but right now we're making it a destination. You can live there, shop there, work there. You know, we have the services apartment. Then we also have the services offices and all like that. So you can work there, live there, eat there, have fun there, and do everything there.
One stop
Yeah,
destination.
just to complement what he said, you know, ANC is a community mall.
Okay.
In the sense that we are there to serve the community. And then it's a multi-purpose mall.
I see.
I mean, you go to most malls, you just go there to shop.
Yeah.
You come to ANC, one, people are not even aware that the fuel station is part of ANC. People are not even aware that there's not only is there a fitness center, there's a swimming pool. And you have this big playground for children. And then, even when we are getting tenants, we just don't take anybody just because you can pay. We have to know what will fit. You know, we have people, and sometimes we go out of our way to encourage people, because there's a young man who we encourage, because we saw that there's nobody repairing shoes and things here like you get abroad. So he brought the machines, and you go there, they will do it for you, you know. So we go out of we have a laundry there, because we know that if you are living there, you need a laundry. You know, we have a doctor there, so we go out of our way to provide all the array of services. And you go to the playground, or you go to the food court, you know, people come there weekends, watch football, meet their friends, etc., etc. So it has become like the place for the community to be, and anything you need, somehow you get it there.
Wonderful.
What do you say to tenants who complain about the price of renting mall space? We know that mall spaces is not exactly cheap. It comes at a cost, square footage, you know. So talk to us about that, about running a mall, getting tenants in to stay for a good duration, tenants moving in and out, and the cost of renting mall space.
No, the renting mall space, I agree with you that it's a bit expensive, because, you know, putting up a mall is high, very high. You need to get loans, and you have to put things together. But we in ANC, we don't just rent to the tenants, we work with the tenants. We support them. I mean, even though our loan is dollar-based, but we cannot look at our tenants and ask them to pay the equivalent of 15 cedis to $1. We can't do that. So we work with them, and sometimes we even advise them to go into certain areas to expand their distance. So we work very closely. If you look at ANC, most of the tenants have been with us from the very beginning. We don't change tenants very much like other malls. We really work with our tenants.
Good rapport with them.
I mean, for businesses like ANC, what do you want from government in terms of support? I mean, putting up this is a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of planning. So what kind of support would you want from the government? If you had somebody from the government here, what would you ask from them in terms of support?
Okay, what we need from the government is to make a conscious effort to support Ghanaian businesses.
I see.
If you go to Japan, go to Malaysia, they have special this thing that if you have a business or you have an idea, you just go to them, you tell them, they look into it. If they are happy, they have a special fund. They don't give it to you free. You pay back, and then they help you, because this country cannot develop if we don't have businesses which continue. And there are 4,000 businesses in Japan which are over 200 years old. Wow. You know, when you go to Switzerland, the banks, some of these banks are 800 years. So what we don't do well here is to support. For example, why should I, a Ghanaian, come in being the first Ghanaian to bring in a shopping mall? And I didn't get any exemption from the government. But the foreign companies come and they get exemption. So how are you encouraging Ghanaians? So these are the problems that the government should make a conscious effort. The problem I see here is everything is political. We should depoliticize business. Look at business, look at what the people are bringing in and how it will help the country. For example, I was the first Ghanaian to build a shopping mall. Why is it that all the other shopping malls are foreign owners? It shows you something. I mean, in other countries, they will have said, okay, now we want you to be our source of malls. We need a mall in Kumasi, we need one here. What do we put together? How do you help you to move?
To move and expand.
You bring this foreign thing, you give them tax rebate. After 10 years, you know what they do? They sell it to another person. You know, whereas we will be here, and the money we'll make is going to be spent here. So I think there should be a very, very conscious effort to support businesses. I mean, I have a colleague in Malaysia. When we left, he went home. He was in the laboratory district. So he designed a laboratory system. He went there, he showed it to them. He didn't have a penny. It was supported. Now he has 18 laboratories in Malaysia.
18. Amazing.
You see? So this is our problem. There should be a conscious effort to support.
For the long term, what are the plans for ANC Mall?
ANC Mall, we have, as we said, we have the ANC corner, which is almost ready. But for the road construction in that area, you know, it's opposite the East Legon police station.
Oh, okay.
And other things, we were even thinking that we will open in December. But for the road construction and for this thing to fit, we think that maybe that will happen in March. And ANC Corner is also going to be the first home decor. I mean, you come there like the Home Depot. Everything about housing, you have it in one place. There is no place like that here. So that is coming. And after that, we have ANC Village. That is in Oyibi, on the road to Dodowa. That's about 10 times the size of ANC Mall.
Wow.
It's going to be a whole village that you can stay there for 1 year without getting out of it. The houses and apartments and the commercial and cinemas, everything will be there. So these are the projects that we have lined up for the future.
Okay. Richard, final words as you wrap it up.
Yes, so final words. We're celebrating 15 years plus of the mall and 20 years plus of the ANC development itself. So 15 years plus, we're doing giveaways, we're having sales events. So starting from tomorrow, we're going to have, starting from Friday, 11 to 13, we're going to have a sales exhibition, which we call the 15 on 15 sales. So 15 years of celebration for 15% of giveaway. So we're going to have a sales exhibition. All tenants are going to come out. We're going to have Joy Live on the premises to hold a morning show there. So we entreat everybody close and far to come to ANC during this 3 days to come and shop, to come and celebrate with us.
Great.
Then on the 25th of November, we have the Black Friday and the treasure hunt. Then in the evening, we'll climax it with a bash with artists, a stage and all to give back to the community.
Wonderful.
Then in the month of December, ANC More, how the Lord has brought us far, we're doing giveaways in the whole month of December. So we have selected schools, selected hospitals, that we're doing giveaways too.
Okay, great. Wonderful, wonderful, guys. Thank you so much for joining us.
Okay,
Yes.
but there's one thing we have to say. I've said what I think the government should do to support. But I also want to underline that we, the business people we also have to be very careful. People, because I speak to the bankers, they say if they come, they take the loan. And before you know, they have bought a new car and they have done this. So we should also consciously try to create a family business. Try to create a business which will stay on and on. So apart from the government not helping, we also, I think, we have to play our part. We have to be dedicated and we have to plan it and then move forward.
Thank you. Very nice. So we had Dr. Andrea Samoa, lawyer and executive chairman, ANC Development. We also had Mr. Richie Jani, marketing manager, ANC Development. Gentlemen, thank you and happy 20th anniversary.
Thank you very much. Right. Thank you.
This is the Citi Breakfast Show, the city's biggest conversation. The Citi Breakfast Show. Rise above the noise.
Fine, anyone can become the house.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, anyone. Whether market woman, student, professional, even fisherman or cobbler. Yugo Flip, a real estate gaming platform that allows you to play and stand the chance of winning a house, cash, or other prizes, such as savings towards the house. Simple and easy to play. Visit www.yugoflip.com. Buy a ticket to enter the game. Wait for the end of the game to enjoy the win. Anyone can win. Contact us on 0555222490. Yugo Flip. This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the Gaming Commission of Ghana. Play responsibly, not for persons below 18 years, and gaming can be addictive.
1xBet. Easy betting, easy winnings. 1xBet, the most reliable service to make deposits easily with high odds and numerous bonuses on the spot. Register now at 1xBet.com.gh. Use promo code BESTODDSGH to get 300% bonus up to 3,445 Ghana cedis on your first deposit. Easy to use, easy to have a chance to win. 1xBet, reliable bookmaker. Gambling can be addictive. Bet responsibly. Not for person under 18 years. This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the Gaming Commission.
Join the conversation on the Citi Breakfast Show on Facebook at facebook.com/Citi97.3, Twitter at twitter.com/Citi973, and Instagram at instagram.com/Citi973 with the hashtag CitiCBS.
Oh, nah, hey, nah, 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 nah.
There's still the Citi Breakfast Show. Let's talk some education. So, Koki, for the second straight day, we're having a chat about education, right?
Always a topical issue.
Yes.
Can't talk about it enough.
Yes. So we've been joined by Nana Frasika Mensah, Deputy Coordinator at the Free SHS, Free SHS Secretariat, I believe. Samuel Owusu Boateng is Cocktail Media CEO, and Aaron Akwabwa is Strategy and Innovation Director at the Ministry of Education. They have something called the STEM Novation, quite interesting STEM Novation. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Welcome to the Citi Breakfast Show.
Good morning.
How are we doing?
You.
Very well.
Thank you. Now let's can you just give us or give our audience a quick overview of the ministry's STEM agenda? We've been hearing the minister talk a lot about STEM, science, tech, engineering, and math, but just give us just give us an overview of that plan and that agenda.
Yeah, so to begin with, just want to make sure the audience knows what we're talking about when we say STEM. It is obviously science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And some people even add the A for arts, and it's always going to be embedded. And it makes a lot of sense, but it's not in the way that we've always done it. Because I'm going to have someone tell me and tell all of us that, oh, well, we already teach science. There's a biology class, there's this kind of class. But it's not about just teaching the courses. It's about a sequence of, first of all, integration. So if you are learning something, you don't want to learn in a vacuum. You have a student do a chemistry class, but then cannot cook because they've learned in a vacuum without ability to apply, right? And so that is the next level, is the application. The ministry and the minister have thought about it and thought about the fact that Ghanaians are very used to saying, I'm going to chew, I'm going to pour, I'm going to pass, and even worse, forget. Right? So we are talking about application where you are able to take the skills that you're learning, and the assessment is actually based on what you can do. So if you have a STEM course, I'm going to follow up on the fact that you can make the robot that will solve the problem versus do you know the components of the robot, or memorization based kind of thinking. And to that point, the minister always talks about we cannot memorize our way out of poverty. So again, we need our integration, we need our application, and we need to do specialization. A lot of young people will go to school and they'll say, I'm going to be a general arts person. I'm going to do general science. That general in and of itself is a failure in the system because you need to be particular. If you've gone to school since KG1, and by the time you get to secondary school, that's 11 years, 12 years of schooling. You should already know kind of where you want to specify. That's what STEM allows us to do, because then you can go into a particular STEM pathway or career pathway or career academy. Great. You'll tell yourself, I want to become an engineer. That's why you're taking engineering courses. I want to be in the medical field. That's why you're taking all your regular courses, but 3 courses in biomedical engineering. And the last piece is about really what STEM is going to do for Ghana. I don't know if that's the next question or not. But if you think about it like this, when you are learning in this way, you're happy and you're engaged and you're moving towards doing something larger than just going to work every day.
You actually enjoy what you do.
And you don't, and then you can innovate, right? Like you can actually make something new. I overheard the conversation about why is it that all the malls are foreign owned? Why are all this and this and that? It's about innovation. It's about also confidence. STEM is going to provide us confidence because it's not just I am smart, it's I can do something. I can show myself as a worthy human being. And we don't live in a vacuum, right? We have to deal with every other country and what they're coming with. So Ghana is being inundated by Chinese and East Asians. I'm not saying it's a good or bad thing, but Ghanaians leave Ghana to get opportunities, but all these people are coming to Ghana to do opportunities. And they're the ones building our roads, they're the ones doing all those things. So the STEM agenda is to give us the skills that will allow us to actually take care of our own situations and solve our own problems.
Okay, so how did STEM Innovation come about, and what's the vision and mission for that?
Okay, so basically cocktail media is into children and youth and programs and activities. And we've had the opportunity to work with the Catholic Education Unit for quite some time, doing STEM at the basic school level. We give the kids projects, they choose themes, build projects, and they compete on that level. In the space of 2-3 years, I can cite, for example, a school being able to use urine to produce electricity, using LEDs to build solar panels, etc. And the ministry, the beautiful STEM agenda of the Minister of Education, through the Free SHS Secretariat, decided to do something STEM practical. We have the National Science and Math quiz already at the senior high school level, so they wanted something more practical for the basic school level. So they reached out to us, and then we pitched the projects we do with the basic schools, upgraded and upscaled it to STEM Innovation for the senior high schools. And we are very grateful for this opportunity to work with the ministry, because if the ministry didn't have that agenda, I think there will be no STEM Innovation. So STEM Innovation is just a combination of STEM and innovation. So use the tools of science, tech, engineering, and math to innovate. Basically.
Wonderful.
So it's a competition?
Yes.
Okay, so tell us about the process of the competition and what makes it different from other types of academic competition.
Yeah, so STEM innovation is not really new, but then it's doing something new.
Okay.
Yeah, there are a lot of STEM challenges in the system or competitions. But then STEM innovation, this year, I'll say for the maiden edition, gave the schools 3 thematic areas. Solar for socioeconomic development, recycling for socioeconomic development, and then coding and programming for socioeconomic development. Why solar? We have abundant sunlight, yet we have power crisis, we have energy crisis. Why recycling? We have so much garbage around us. We have annual floods because the garbage can block our drainages, etc. But then there's recycling, which can turn it into something. And then why coding and programming? Because we believe that everything is migrating into the IT world. We can't leave our children behind. So STEM Innovation challenged all the senior high schools, the TVET. So this is one of the unique things about STEM Innovation. It has roped in all senior high schools, all senior high technical schools, and then all technical and vocational institutes, TVETs. If you want technical stuff done, engineering, we need to go to the level of the people who are actually studying something technical. So all these 3 categories of second cycle institutions were challenged with these 3 themes to develop something. And they were to look for a problem in their communities and then use one of the tools of STEM to engineer a solution for that particular problem. And we had about 200 of them responding. And out of that, 97 were able to create projects that were worth carrying to the next stage. And across the country, that is how STEM innovation started.
Can I add something about the process? Something that I really appreciate about the process is that it's very egalitarian because we can do it through Zoom.
Oh,
yes.
So it's like a lot of times, can I even get the money to get all the way down to our crowd, Kumasi or whatever, to have the contest? Can I do A, B, C, and D? But so our students and their teachers were able to go through the process, create the thing, and then they'll send us a video or they'll see us through Zoom. And we also were able to have judges, interactions with them, and our judges were able to interact with them. So we had judges here in Ghana. I was lucky enough to be one of them. We had university professors as judges, and we also had international judging. So again, you can see how it's a little bit different. And I think another piece of it is that each of them was for social,
economic
development and transformation. So at the end of the day, someone who wins this can take their winning thing or anything they created, even if you don't win, and say, I want to go try to get this patented. Now, you've been on the radio, we were talking about you, you've been on TV, your name has been around, you've been on international Zooms. It extends a lot. Yes, it gives a platform and it extends a lot farther than some of our other academic ones, which you may be practicing all those skills, but you haven't done something directly for Ghana. We all want, it's like a tit for tat. You know, you're going to create for Ghana, and we're going to support you to create for Ghana because we're in this together.
Okay.
Wonderful.
So this happened when? When was the competition?
We launched it on 5th of September.
Okay.
That was where the launch took place. And then we started the whole competition. The virtual started somewhere in last month.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And how long is it running for? And when is the final?
The finals will be next week. The arrival of the students will be 16th of next week, November.
Okay.
And the 17th, we have the STEM fair, and then we have a contest in the afternoon. Then the last day, which is on the 18th, we have the last contest and then the grand final.
Wow. So how many schools are in the final now?
Oh, we have 22 schools.
22 schools
from across the country.
From across the
country.
country.
Okay. There are 16 regional champions and then 6 extra extremely promising projects which were also invited. And you'll be amazed when you get to see
their projects.
Even the 97. You must see the 97 national projects, and then you'll be surprised how they could choose 22. It was so difficult.
It must have been tough for the judges.
And the best thing about that portion is that we are looking at regional champions so that we're never in a position where it's always the same traditional schools that you see. I working in the ministry for the last year, and I think I know all of the schools in Ghana, but I saw some names. I said, hey, I've never seen this before. And you'll see someone that
Presec and those
and so the competition is very, very deep, because it's not just the top 10% of schools or the schools that have access to everything.
Yes.
It is just wonderful to see a group of 3 TVET young ladies against 2 boys from Presec, and then seeing how they get along and the level of respect they have for each other isn't mean, it isn't disrespectful, but there's like, hey, I really want to win.
Yeah.
And it's really nice to see that.
STEAM has brought them all together.
Yes.
Very nice. Okay, so is this open to the public? I mean,
Yes,
the
it's
finals.
open.
And
The finals.
The final is open to the public.
Where is it taking place?
University of Ghana, Legon.
Great.
Issa Hall.
Issa Hall. Yeah.
Okay.
All
Good
right.
to know. So people should pay attention. You said next week, the 16th.
16th is when they arrive.
When
So
they
the-
arrive.
the
When they
fair
arrive.
will start on 17th and then 18th.
Okay.
It's going to be massive. So
At Issa
Yeah,
Hall,
I mean, think
University of
about
Ghana.
22.
It's
Judges have need to
practical,
find a winner
yeah.
from
Tell you.
22
A practical
different unique
based
projects.
competition.
And
Yeah.
STEM Innovation took them through stages. So there were eliminations. They had a pitch contest. So they did balloting. So if I pick you, I'm pitching with you. We pitch our project virtually to a panel of judges. And they will listen, they will score, they will interact, they would actually interrogate their project. And by the time they are done, they're able to tell that you have actually scored. And if you see the emotions, sometimes when a project is eliminated, it's heartbreaking. The way that you realize that I think we've not been challenging our children. The potential is we have extreme potential.
Yep.
It's not new. We are not new to STEM. We are very good. Our children are very good, but we've not been asking them the right questions. We only think we can memorize. We are quick. We need the quick mathematicians. We need them. We need the fast thinkers and all that. But then we need also the nerds, the geeks. Every country has its own community of geeks and nerds, and we have to feed our geeks. We have to feed our nerds, and who knows? Eventually, they will begin to produce local solutions. And STEM innovation is actually not just going to award a project, put it on the shelf. There is a serious connection to, as he said, patenting and then doing R&D, research and development to produce. So we have a connection with Kantanka, with his labs. He has this outreach program with the university engineering department, and we are using a similar one to develop that of our kids. Sure.
All right. I mean, will there be more competition? What's finally, just in a few words, what's next for STEM innovation?
It's going to be massive. We want to do it an annual event. So every year we have a competition that will come up. So we will sit down with a team, come up with a team, and we give it to them for them to design or develop a project on it, submit it to us. The next year contest, for instance, we want to go there in person. This one, because of time constraint, we couldn't go there in person. But next year or the years ahead, we want to go there in person, have a feel of their project, and see how they are using that project to solve a particular societal problem. And I want to applaud Rara Senior High School. When you look at their projects, it's so amazing. They even went to the extent that they have to install a light in one of their communities.
Oh, wow.
So Free Senior High School is doing so well, but it's just that we are not blowing our whistle out there for people to know that if we challenge the students, they are really doing a good job in the schools. Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much. So the final cookie is at the University of Ghana next week.
Issa Hall.
Issa Hall. So we should all be there to enjoy the 2022 edition of STEM Innovation. Thank you. We had Nana Afrasika Mensah.
We want to thank our minister. So we want to use this opportunity to thank the Honorable Minister for Education for giving us this opportunity for us to work with him, and also all the staff at the ministry and the Free SHS Secretariat, Cocktail Media, they've done a good job. Our boss from the Free SHS Secretariat, Mr. William Dakwa, for frontline this thing, always giving us support, and all the deputy ministers of the Ministry of Education. Thank you, sir. And the sponsors too. We can't live without them. God, Chalo Oil, they've all been so supportive. Omega Oil, KA Technologies, and the rest. They are all supporting us with good stuff, giving us printers, laptops for us to give it to the students for them to work on their next projects.
Thank you.
Thank you
so much. We had Nana Afrasika Mensah, who's the deputy coordinator at the Free SHS Secretariat. We also had Samuel Usuboating, CEO of Cocktail Media, and Aaron Akwabwa, Strategy and Innovation Director at the Ministry of Education. They'll be talking about STEM innovation. The final is next week, 18th. Go out there, just watch what these amazing teenagers, 17th and 18th, go and see what these amazing teenagers are doing. And as they try to chart a new path, really, in how we do things in Ghana. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for coming, and wish you the very best.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Update.
And that's our show for the morning. Many thanks for listening. My name is Nathan Quao.
Wow.
Earlier you heard Kokri Salome Hansen, who's still here with me. You also heard Godfred Akotobuafo and Bernard Avle.
Yeah. See.
Many thanks for listening. We appreciate all the messages that came in, and we appreciate your time as well. Show produced by Fred Jabano, Caleb Kuda, and technical support came from Godfred Odum, the richest man.
Tell my boy.
Up next is the City News at 10. Nanato for Boating has the details.
Coming up, a minority to move a motion for vote of censure against Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta today. And later, former Deputy Finance Minister Mona Kote expresses worry over high inflation rates compared to Ghana.